Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The sniper meta right now in Warzone is obviously pretty strong. We have some fantastic options like the HDR, the LR762, the CAT, the MORS, so on and so forth. And obviously, pairing with your sniper option, you have to have something that covers your close to mid-range, typically referred to as sniper support. And today I wanted to go through and break down the best sniper support options that we've got in the game right now. So first up here in our top 5, we've got the C9. Now typically, yeah, you're gonna pair this with maybe your AK, your AMAX, your Kilo, etc., your standard mid to long range primary that's maybe not a sniper. That's the value of the C9. It's sort of a do-it-all SMG. It's incredibly versatile, especially after they buffed it recently. Like, it's got a great damage range after its first damage drop-off. It's pretty minimal, all things considered, and it stays really consistent through about 20 meters or so, depending on which exact attachments you are running here. If you wanted to go all in on damage range, you could. Don't necessarily think that's the best idea. Optimizing more like what we've got here, I think, is the better way to go. But yeah, the C9 works fantastic, really paired with any sniper here. So first up on this build, we are going for long barrel. This is super important because it focuses directly on that damage range, pushes it out to 15.5 meters. Like I said, really good for an SMG. Then beyond that, with that damage drop off, it's a pretty minimal drop off. So your TTK and your damage is still to be really good in its second damage range as well. I also go for Ranger foregrip personally, helping out with some horizontal control and some sprinting movement speed, so it's both more aggressive and it's easier to use. That's the best of both worlds at the end of the day, right? Extended 2 going to be the obvious option here. 50 rounder, that's the max extended mag choice here, so that's going to work great. Pretty solid safety net, all things considered, for the mid-range gunfights you're getting into. I like ergonomic rear grip on here as well a lot for the better ADS time, the better slide to fire time, doing a lot of slide canceling when I've got this gun out, so that's a solid choice. I also think commando is really good. Quick draw rear grip for the better ADS is solid. If you want to focus even more on damage range, you could swap that out for a monolithic suppressor if you really wanted to. Again, that'll slow you down some, not my style, but an option there nonetheless. And then lastly, I do go for recoil springs, just free recoil control horizontally and vertically, doing a little bit more than just a compensator would, which would only attack vertical control. So really easy to use SMG, and obviously very, very versatile as mentioned across the close range and a little bit of the mid-range as well for what is SMG's mid-range territory. Next up, another really reliable SMG choice, and probably a bit of a surprising one considering we're talking about absolute meta choices for this niche sort of style of sniper support, the MX9. You know, an MW2 sub actually in the midst of the best options for a style like this. Because of the buffs that this thing got with Season 3 Reloaded, it's been a top tier SMG. We've talked about it a little bit and done some videos on it in the past, but in general here, I think it's a fantastic choice for sniper support because close range, it's gonna have that fast TTK. Then in the mid-range, similar to the C9, the damage drop-off is super minimal, and it's got one of the fastest TTKs in the game at, 20-25 meters essentially there, again, depending on the full attachment extent you want to be running here. I'm not a huge fan of the irons in this case. C9's much cleaner. MX9's not as good for me personally. Now, if you like them, you could replace an optic with a different attachment, but I like the Natter model 2023. Makes life easy for me, rhyming accidentally, but it's just a clean optic, works for me. I feel like I'm pretty accurate with this on there. Sonic suppressor is going to work the same as every other single suppressor we've got here, basically just extending out that velocity and that damage range. Then the Bruin S901 barrel is going to help out the range as well, and a little bit of movement speed, which is nice to have. So you end up with a 638 velocity, which is really good for an SMG, then a 14 meter effective damage range with a minimal drop off beyond that. So this is going to be another really aggressive choice. It's got some good range. The extended mag here is a 50 rounder. That's your only option you've got, so of course we're rocking that. Then I personally like the C11 riser on here as well as a comb, just for the better sprint to fire and ADS, making us a tad bit more aggressive there. But yeah, again, very versatile SMG that gets the job done. And by the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons, all the setups here today, if you guys enjoy the video, you find the information helpful, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. Really does help grow the channel, and share the video around to new viewers. And if you happen to be one of those new viewers, or maybe you just have not subscribed yet, we should change that. This is the place to be to stay up to date with absolutely everything going on in COD on a daily basis, so feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. Next up here, we've got the MCW conversion kit, an MW3 option here. This was a top tier, maybe the best sniper support choice for all of MW3 Warzone basically, and it's still holding strong here in BO6 Warzone as well. Its first damage range is like 20 meters or something, like pretty solid all things considered, and it's got an insanely fast TTK in that range. Does drop off a bit more beyond that, but again, sniper support territory, this is going to serve you very, very well. The most important part of the setup here is going to be the Jack Raven kit, taking this from being a slow, heavy assault rifle for long range and turning it into this SMG AR hybrid style gun, of course. So that, like I said, most important part of the setup because it completely changes how the weapon behaves. In addition to that, I'm also rocking the Night Owl model 2023. Yet again, just super clean optic, but if there's a different one you like more, feel free to go ahead and run that instead. Spirit Fire Suppressor, once more doing the same thing as all the other suppressors here, basically extending out our damage and our range. We end up with a 547 velo, which is good enough, for then a 21, basically 22 meter effective damage range, which is really, really generous there as well. I go for the 40 round extended mag. That is the max in this case. I really wish it was like a 50, a 55. That'd be super ideal, but you can get the job done with 40 because the TTK is so quick. Then lastly, I really like Jack Cutthroat stock on here as well for the better movement speed, the better strafe, just makes this thing all around even more aggressive, even more agile, which is really ideal when you're trying to take an assault rifle and turn it into an SMG AR sort of hybrid style, close range style gun. That really helps out there. So pretty unique setup all things considered, but one that is seriously competitive. Next up, we've got a really interesting one with the Kilo 141 built out for sniper support. Now there's a lot of different ways to go about a sniper support style setup for the Kilo, but yes, this thing is actually really good. In its first damage range, like when you're competing against other subs, it's close enough to compete against those that accuracy will be a big factor there, but then you get into like the mid range, you know, 15, 20, 25, 30 meters, and this thing really starts to shine as a fantastic sniper support choice. It is a rifle, so it's going to be a little bit slower than a C9 and MX9, even the MCW conversion a little bit, but it also has much better range than those options as well. So this is an interesting one, and one that's definitely a lot more fresh. We really haven't been experimenting around with this all that much. But first up here, go for whatever optic you're comfortable with. I think a Volsky is solid here, a Slate, an Oturo red dot, you know, a Kepler red dot, whatever you're comfortable with here, rock that. Ideally, it's an optic that's going to be good in the close range. You don't want something that's super zoomed in, of course. I then go for the Ranger foregrip on here, helping out with some horizontal control, so again the weapon becomes easier to use, and some sprinting movement speed, so it's a tad bit more aggressive. Just extended 1 here, that's a 50 rounder, that's gonna work fine, right? You don't need to jump up to extended 2 and slow yourself down even more, and definitely not extended 3 for the sniper support situations. Commando rear grip, better ADS and sprint to fire on here as well. We still have a 235 ADS. That's not super fast. You got to pre-aim with this maybe a little bit more than one of the subs, but it's a rifle. You should probably be, attentive of how you're playing with it to begin with. And then sprint to fire is 160. That's not bad at all. Like, that's actually really solid there. Then lastly, I really like infiltrator stock for the better strafe speed. Balance stock could be good here too for the better movement speed. I think this weapon is easy enough that you don't really need to use something like a compensator on here. You don't need to extend the range out even more. That's already going to be fine even without a long barrel or anything on there. We're at a 35 meter effective damage range, like for sniper support, that works well. The only thing that I would maybe consider alternating in here would maybe be the Street Lock laser for that snappier, like hip fire to ADS sort of shots there. Maybe replacing that with the infiltrator stock if you're more towards that kind of play style. But this thing is a surprisingly good sniper support choice, and definitely one that you might not have experimented around with as much so far this year. Worth giving it a shot. And then lastly here, I've got the GPR. This I would say is the definitive best sniper support choice. And again, there's quite a few different ways you could build this out depending on the level of effectiveness you're looking for, the level of versatility even here. I think the irons personally are pretty clean, so I don't rock an optic. I actually start off with the Ranger foregrip yet again for that better horizontal control and that better sprinting movement speed. Obviously, this being a base rifle, anytime we can speed it up, that's going to be a good deal there. I do rock extended 2. In this case, it is a 60 as opposed to extended 1, which is just a 45. If you want to test out the 45, or maybe you're just a solos player, that could be sustainable there. But the damage per mag, you start to get a little bit iffy if you're fighting 2-on-3 or in a hectic situation. 60 will be a nice safety net here. It's not going to slow you down too much, but feel free to mess around with either of those, see what works the best for you. Commando rear grip yet again, helping out with our ADS and our sprint to fire. 230 ADS, 150 sprint to fire, not looking too bad there for an assault rifle. Infiltrator stock on here as well for the better strafe. Balance stock would be a solid alternative if you're looking for that movement speed. Then lastly, I went with recoil springs. It just makes it a lot easier to control, a lot more predictable across the board with the free horizontal and vertical boosts there. Once more though, again, if you're comfortable with the recoil as is, looking at a Street Lock laser, not a bad choice at all. If you really want to go overkill on the range and have an insane TTK, long barrel, pushing that range out to 46 meters as opposed to just 33, some pretty solid boost there. If you need an optic, you could always switch out recoil springs for that, even going for something like a base suppressor or a compensator as well if you really want to stay off the radar. But yeah, this is a fantastic sniper support choice as well. Really, you can't go wrong with any of these options here today, depending on what you're looking for. If you want something that's got a bit better range, then one of the rifles will be a solid one. If you want more mobility, one of the SMGs, fantastic. MCW sort of sits in between all of that there, right? So there are some solid options. We could go on and on about other good sniper support choices too. The PPSH, the KSV, like there's some other really good options as well, but wanted to give you guys a definitive top 5 here today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like on it, and of course, if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button on your way out so you can guarantee you're always in the know for everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.